Joining us on the show this afternoon, Carl Tinnion with some food for thought. Carl, welcome along. Now, I'm intrigued as to how the two things are going to mesh together today. You've got a scripture that I think is quite a difficult one to get your head around, but alongside that, you've got something that we all know and love, and most people will eat it. So let's see how these two come together. Firstly, let's go to the scripture. 1 Corinthians 9.
Yeah, so I guess the reason I was thinking about this is I find myself in lots of ministry contexts as someone involved with mission. So I'm involved with a Spanish-speaking church that I helped start up. I'm involved with some sort of church outreach to Fijian Indians. I'm working in the Maori Anglican church, and I'm working with English classes, for immigrants into New Zealand. And I realise that the gospel is the great unifier for all of us. That in those places, when I'm coming alongside those different cultural spaces and kind of meeting them where they're at, I have to lay aside my Englishness, I guess, or whatever I think is my cultural right, to come alongside them and become more like them. So this scripture from Paul in 1 Corinthians is a really cool one. He says that he's totally free, but he's also the servant to all. And to the Jews, he became like a Jew, and to the Gentiles, he became like a Gentile, so that in order that he would reach all people. To the weak, he became weak, that he might win the weak. And by all means, so that he would save people. But he does it all for the sake of the gospel, that he was sharing its blessings. I think it's a really powerful scripture in today's increasingly polarized world, with all the different demographics and cultures and all the rest of it. And Paul denies himself. He lays down his cultural rights to love on another group. And it doesn't have to be culture. It can be any sort of subgroup, if you like, that sees himself as a separate cultural identity. And I think as Christians, that is our calling, to rise above all of the polarization in the world today, and hear these words from Paul, that we are to become all things, be all things to all people for the sake of the gospel. It's really, really powerful kind of theology.
It is very powerful. I liked what you said at the beginning. It is a unifying theology, and it is denying our own rights sometimes for the rights of others, and to uplift them so they too can meet Jesus. Now, what I love also is where you're going with this one, because I am intrigued as to how pizza fits into 1 Corinthians. I'm not sure they were eating pizza back in the day. Would I be incorrect in thinking so?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. So Paul's written this letter.
Yeah.
And Paul was a Hellenistic Jew. So he was a Greek-speaking Jew that came from Tarsus. And Tarsus is in modern-day Turkey. And so this was a Roman province, I guess, that was Greek-speaking. But it was kind of still sort of seen as Asia Minor. So they were still different people groups that were now sort of overseen by Rome, if you like. He was a Roman citizen, but he was Jewish, but a Greek-speaking Jew. And we know that he was the one that really he preached the gospel to outside of the Jewish church, to Gentiles. And he ended his life. We don't exactly know this for certain, but scholars agree reasonably that he was martyred in Rome. He was in house arrest in Rome, and he was finally beheaded in Rome because he was a Roman citizen. So I kind of think, gosh, what an amazing life, and what an inspiration that he'd grown up in a Greek-speaking Jewish minority group in Turkey, preached to the Jews, then preached to the Gentiles, then ended his life preaching to the Romans. So I thought, well, he's ended his life in the sort of the pizza space, if you like. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we actually made a bit of a multicultural pizza that incorporated some Turkish ingredients, some Jewish ingredients, but was based on a Roman pizza? Just thinking about how do we become all things to all people, and we lay aside our cultural rights, and we incorporate other people's for the sake of the gospel.
I love this idea, and I love the fact that pizza is one of those communal type meals as well. You know, you're all reaching in and getting a piece of pizza.
Yeah.
So there is something that is really community oriented about a pizza. But let's talk about how we make this particular one, because it's sounding a little unique.
Yeah, I think it probably is. I mean, on one of my YouTube videos, I use this as a metaphor for the church because the pizza is like it's spread across the world, isn't it? And there's a basic structure of pizza, but every culture has kind of adopted it for themselves. So I'm thinking buy yourself a pre-made pizza base. It's a lot easier. Feel free to find a dough recipe. I buy mine from a supermarket that I can't say, I don't want to advertise, but it sounds like Stack and Pave. They do really great. Their pizza bases are phenomenal.
Are they? All
So,
right then.
oh, they really are superb. I think the best I've found out of all of them. But yeah, put on a basic tomato puree, tomato passata on the base, and salt and pepper. And you're still going to use mozzarella cheese. Use some grated mozzarella cheese. It's fine. But I was thinking of putting different toppings on that represent those three cultures. So some Italian salami, and some Turkish pepper. So the pickled peppers that you can get. I thought you could sprinkle that on, and then a handful of chickpeas. And chickpeas represent the Jewish dimension, which could be. We talked about falafel last week, didn't we? But chickpeas are used a lot in the Levantine sort of culture. So handful of chickpeas, Italian salami, and Turkish pepper. And it's in honor of Paul, who became all things to all people in order to win some for the sake of the gospel.
Okay. Well, we all love pizza, so let's try this one out and, yes, talk around this theme. Talking with Carl Tinnion, the Anglican Rejuvenator, the guy behind Heavenly Nosh. Check that out on YouTube, Heavenly Nosh, and, of course, food for thought for your Friday afternoon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Rhema. Now, if you found value in today's content, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel with the subscribe button. This really helps us to continue to produce more quality content for you. And hey, if you'd like to stay updated and never miss any of our future videos, ring that notification bell as well. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials, which are in the description below. And until then, stay tuned.